Hello, everybody. Welcome to Alex Aquarius Stories and Prayer. Today, we're going to talk about more alien stories. Specifically, let's look first at the video that Logan Paul uploaded to the internet. Said it was from a couple of buddies, and we're not sure exactly how he got the video, but let's go back and look. And Bob Lazar was on the Jesse Michaels show, and they were checking out the video together. Now they're looking at Logan Paul's video. Let me show you the video first. This is the video. All right, watch. You'll see the saucer.
And look at the intensity of the light that's going to happen here, right? There, those are really
you can, and it's fading in and out.
Yeah, you can't fake that.
You can.
What you're looking at is the dashboard of a car all lit up because there's a saucer flying right above a car. So the dashboard is really bright inside of the car.
See that it wobbles exactly,
but it wobbles
like your
It
film.
wobbles. That's the important thing. Yeah, so it does comport with your video.
It wobbles, it glows like that, in that color, in that shape.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
It's wild.
Yeah.
it's impressive. It is.
Okay, so not only do we finally see Logan Paul's video, we get Bob Lazar to take a look at it and say, this is the type of thing that I was talking about in general. So,
Yeah, you see the way that it wobbled? It kind of sits there, but it has a
Lazar
movement.
to take a look at it.
Glows like that.
Fake that's going to happen here, right? You're handed.
Yeah, it's moving the right way.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
right color, and it's the right shape. So it makes it very compelling.
See how it even looks like, even though it's blurry, it looks like the bottom part of it is spinning or moving. But it, like the guy that just moved his hand in kind of a wobble. Like if you put a disc on the table and spun it, and then as it fell, it would start to wobble until it flattens itself out on the table. It looks like that. It looks like the saucer is trying to level itself within some type of materia structure, but it's in
The
between.
intensity of the light, there's something very, very bright that is affecting that. The dash is being lit. It's the dash of the vehicle, and the craft is above it.
Right.
And look at the here's the dash, and look at the intensity of the light that's going to happen here, right? There, those are really.
Yeah, you can, and it's fading in and out.
Yeah,
It's
you
moving
can't
up there.
fake that.
You can see that it wobbles exactly
But it wobbles.
like your
It
film.
wobbles. That's the important thing. Yeah, so it does comport with your video.
It wobbles, it glows like that, in that color, in that shape.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
It's wild.
it's impressive. It is.
Now, I'm not sure where Bob Lazar got that video. Where was it? Let's see. Did I find? That's on Jesse Michaels. I was looking for it earlier. This guy's Dan Burisch. We're going to talk about his story. Don't know if I believe it. But here's a guy that where I first found this. The UFO footage Logan Paul just dropped is absolutely insane, this man says. This is, I'll show you, Casper Site. He's got over 1 million subscribers. Casper Site. UFO footage Logan Paul just dropped is absolutely insane. Let's go see if we can find the origin of how Logan Paul drops this thing.
So you said, hey man, do you mind just showing it to me? And while he showed it to you, you recorded it on a secret fucking camera.
What do you want from me, bro? I'm a sneaky.
Oh,
little
you stole
fuck.
the footage.
I'm a sneaky little. Fuck.
Oh, said, hey man, do you mind footage of aliens landing on the earth for $100,000? Chuck Clark, and James Fox shares a previously unheard story about you going to purchase this existing footage of aliens landing on the Earth for $100,000. Chuck Clark, who has been gatekeeping this footage like a freaking OnlyFans girl, would not sell you the footage for a rack of hundreds, right? So you said, hey man, do you mind just showing it to me? And while he showed it to you, you recorded it on a secret fucking camera.
What do you want from me, bro? I'm a sneaky.
Oh,
little
you stole the
I'm
footage.
a sneaky little.
Oh, that's
Right. So, funny enough, I just noticed as well, James Fox, that I interviewed actually a few weeks back, absolute legend. He says this is clearly degraded, but this is pretty much what I saw when it was about a week or two old, a long time ago, probably 30 years or close to it. All right. So
30
this
years
is
old.
the footage. Okay. Big shout out to Red Panda Koala for retweeting this. Now, I think hats off has to go to one, Logan Paul for finally releasing it. Two, obviously Bob Lazar. Okay. But three, Jesse Michaels, that obviously got Logan Paul onto the show and I don't know, maybe persuaded him to show this. So big shout out to Jesse Michaels. Okay.
I gotta say, Bob, it is an honor to meet you, man. Absolute legend. What a privilege to talk to you.
Oh, thanks. Good to meet you.
I don't know if Jesse gave you any context to why I wanted to talk to you.
They have a bit, yeah, but maybe let me rehash it.
Okay. So
You could actually see the excitement in Logan Paul, right? You could actually feel it, yeah?
Bob, check this out.
Okay.
I have in my possession UFO footage that has a story behind it that is compelling but not convincing. And I've been waiting to just do something with this footage or receive confirmation of sorts. And I see this particular orange disc sometimes in UFO videos and documentaries I'm watching. It pops up every now and then. But when I was watching the trailer for S4 that you guys released, about 80% of the way through the trailer, you guys show a disc that is at night, but then kind of coats itself in this orange.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've also done videos on this thing where it's almost like there's a glowing disc and it's dropping some sort of molten lava. And there was also that other UFOologist that spoke about UFOs dropping materials on this beach. I'll have to remember the details, but anyway, let's carry on.
That's right. Yeah. Dude, I paused it there and I said, oh my God, that looks exactly like the footage that I have. So this footage, supposedly authentic, was taken by two college kids who wanted to go to Area 51 in the 90s, I believe it was 1995, and film their experience of trying to see if they could stumble upon a UFO or just alien activity of sorts. And then it cuts to under the dashboard, and you see something very clearly illuminating like the top of the dashboard, and they're like hunkered underneath the car and they're whispering to each other like, I think it's out there, like I don't know what it is, maybe we should go out and
I'm gonna stop it, rewind it, and look into detail as well in a second.
they're like kind of scared.
Then something appears just beyond the glass.
Look at that.
The craft is hovering extremely close to the car. It's orange and slightly wobbling or undulating in place as if it's on a wave.
There's something
It's
about
on
this.
a
I want to
wave.
slow down in a bit and
You
show
can hear the two guys whispering.
Out there, stop it. Over there.
So what do you think? Do you think that could be an actual saucer? You can kind of see the way that it undulates. Like it's not just sitting there level. It looks like it's wobbling. The edges are going around. The edges are going up while the other side is down, but it's turning. But also the bottom bulge of the craft seems to be shadowed, but in motion as well. It does have the right shape, But even Bob Lazar looking at this, he says, yep. Watch the Bob Lazar reaction. I think I've got it over here on the actual Jesse Michael. Here it is right here.
Is being lit. It's the dash of the vehicle, and the craft is above it.
Right.
And look at the intent. Here's the dash, and look at the intensity of the light that's going to happen here. Right.
Wow.
There. Those are really.
Yeah, you can, and it's fading in and out.
Yeah,
so it's
you
moving
can't
up there.
fake that.
You can see that it wobbles exactly
But it wobbles.
like your
It
film.
wobbles. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So it does comport with your video.
It wobbles. It glows like that, in that color, in that shape.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
It's wild.
it's impressive. It is.
Let's put ourselves on the other side of that event. What if you were the person flying that craft? Because I guess we're supposed to imagine where Bob Lazar was working, they also had people that were assigned to fly the craft and try to test it out. But one of the priorities Bob Lazar said was they had to have a radio transmitter that could end it all in case. You know, if something went wrong, they wanted to be able to freeze it up or blow it up. So it had to be controlled from the outside. Would you want to be the pilot of an experimental aircraft where if anything goes wrong, the other guys in the control room can just blow you up? I'd say, I don't think I want to fly it anymore. Yeah, I don't want to fly it now. Can I just get out of this assignment, please? Yeah. So you can imagine if they were flying over the kids, if this is real, they drove as close as they could to the area to see the craft at Area 51, and this is around 1980. And if the person in the craft is flying the craft, then the craft is transparent. So that person is just looking down on them in their car, trying to hide in the front seat on the floorboard. Because that's what it would look like if you were inside that craft. That orange wobbling craft right there would be doing that. Let's see it again.
Color, which is not a coincidence. A craft with strong field interactions, like the ones that Bob alludes to, creates an ionized plasma sheath around itself. The dominant atmospheric gas on Earth is nitrogen. Ionized nitrogen that interacts with plasma glows red-orange. This classic observation of a glowing reddish or orange ball of light moving silently and erratically
How is that?
one of
Excuse
the
me.
plasma glows an ionized plasma sheath around itself. The dominant atmospheric gas on Earth is nitrogen. Ionized nitrogen that interacts with plasma glows red-orange. This classic
Ionized nitrogen. I've never heard of ionized nitrogen. I guess you just ionize it with what electrodes?
observation of a glowing reddish or orange ball of light moving silently and erratically is one of the most commonly reported UFO descriptions across decades of sightings worldwide.
No, what? Did you see that move it did? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Now, I know this footage is grainy, and while certainly fascinating, it's far from conclusive, but it
Why is
is
it always
another
so grainy?
fascinating data point. What Luigi's movie almost definitively vindicates is the existence of S4. Remember, when Bob went public in 1989, Area 51 itself hadn't even been officially acknowledged by the government. And to this day, S4's existence is still denied. It's not supposed to exist. But Luigi used Google Earth's historical imagery to go back in time.
You know, I've heard most of this stuff that was at S4 has moved to Tooele, Utah. Tooele. I think that's spelled something like Tool, like Tuelle. Tooele. And but that's where the real bizarre stuff, the really foreign engineering, and maybe even, I don't know, live biological organisms. Can you imagine they're in Tooele, Utah now instead of S4?
And found a 2022 version of the area surrounding S4 that was not yet blurred to obscure the site. And yet, vehicle tracks are visible in these older satellite images.
You can clearly see the tracks. Look at them going in every direction, and you could look at all the traffic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's not one guy driving around.
No, that's not one guy driving. Exactly. So
And there's no public out there. So what are you doing?
Luigi also shows Bob a high-quality aerial photograph taken by a pilot roughly 17 miles from Papoose Lake. The image had previously circulated online, but Luigi enhanced the contrast a bit to reveal additional details.
And if you look carefully in this version here, where the contrast has been changed, as we zoom, look what you see.
Yeah, you can start seeing
You see them clearly right there.
Yeah, the slanted rectangular doors, yeah.
Finally, and perhaps most damningly, the
The
map
doors.
of Papoose Lake was literally altered 8 days after Bob Lazar.
If you remember, Bob Lazar said he was on a base when he was at S4 that had a floor that there was like garage doors opened, and as it opened up, you could see that they were in a hillside, overlooking a desert for about 11 or 12 miles. But I think he said there were a number of ships. It was more than 6, wasn't it? It was like somebody said there's like 10 crafts, and I don't think I think we have the one that fell in Virginia. We have another one that fell in Mexico. Where was that? In Michoacan. There was, they're getting them from different places. The one that we're going to look at later, the alien that they call J-Rod that was kept allegedly in S4, came from a crash near Kingman, Arizona. Okay. Kingman. I had a friend from Kingman when I was in college. We worked together, actually. Night shift. We worked at a factory that made cutter bits for downhole drilling. Let's see.
Very bright. That is
Footage, right?
That's the video. But I don't know. Do you think that looks real? That's from Jake Paul. Let's see what else is going on. I should just look up aliens and see what comes up. I was going to show you really quick. This guy, Dan Burisch, he's the guy that did some interviews. I think it was 2004 and 2007. He was going around, it's already like 18 years ago, saying that he was on MJ-12, Majestic 12. There's supposed to be 12 people that are trusted within the government and industry to keep the aliens secret. Anything that we know about any biological entities that are living in one of our bases or more than one, or anything that we're doing to study them or communicate with them or make deals with them, anything is kept up to 12 men who decide when and how the revelation will be made that aliens are real, and if we ever will tell the humans that the aliens are real, But some people doubt that he was on Majestic 12. And how would he be allowed to come out and tell the story? He talks about going in his underground space and going into a pressurized chamber with the alien they call J-Rod, and he would basically take skin samples off of it. And it had like some type of protein propagating skin disease where the proteins didn't break down in the right fashion. And so the alien skin was wearing down and it was painful. And so he was taking biopsies and removing the skin. And then they were taking the skin to some lab to see what they could figure out about it and see if they could do something to help the alien. Maybe they would have said, put him in some baking soda. That should help. Put him into baking soda. But let's see Dan Burisch's story.
I've met a lot of very interesting, but a few strange people in the last 4.5 years talking with the public who believe that there are literally reptilians walking around that are wearing masks and things like that. No. You know, I'm a little more rooted in reality. I hate to put it that way, but no. I joked with her that I wanted to do something over at the first place where we were at for my debriefing. I said, when the debriefing gets done, what I wanted to do is I wanted to hire some special effects people for real. Would end the debriefing, and then we would stop, and then we would begin filming with another camera. And I was just suggesting a joke. It never got pulled off. Somebody, what I was going to do is have a special effects person work me up with my face over the top of a reptilian face, and I was going to rip it off and go, God, I'm tired of these human masks. And just have this little segment put out there as a joke. But she told me that people would take it seriously.
People would believe it. You can't do that. People will believe it. It's true.
You know, I don't know. I've got a strange sense of humor, I guess.
He's talking to Carrie Cassidy. Do you know Project Camelot? If you look up Project Camelot with Carrie Cassidy. I used to listen to her interviews because she would go to conferences and interview interesting people. But then that was back in the day when I was listening to like David Wilcock and just starting to wean myself from the History Channel and Discovery. And then Gaia. Remember they came up with Gaia and made their own channel. And they took all of the top influencers at that point that were the, like Graham Hancock. And who's the guy that was like the Greek guy that has his hair all sticking up? And he says, it's aliens, man. And he became a meme, Papadopoulos or something like that. He's got a Greek name. Him. And I'm thinking of the guy with glasses that's always got all the good opinions about any type of alien visitation or what anybody thinks. What's his name? Robert. But you see all the same speakers from these shows. And they all went and they made Gaia. But they've gone off in the wrong direction, I think, because they tell stories that I don't believe are true. And they talk about things that I don't believe exist or that God would allow or would make sense in the structure of the world we live in, and even outside of our body, when we're looking at this world through a different set of our spirit, where our spirit looks at the world and space. You start to learn that a lot of the New Age things that people put out, I'm sorry if you're part of the New Age group, a lot of New Age people go with QAnon as well and believe QAnon. But I do not listen to QAnon, nor do I consider myself a New Ager. I was Christian, I was Mormon, but I'm now, I call myself a cross-free Christian. I know there's a Lord. I know there's a Lord in heaven, and he answers prayers. That's for sure. I know that. But the rest, when people talk about source, source, let us do this. And they don't want to say God, the New Agers, a lot of them. So they say source. Talk about source. I don't like that. Some of the things they do are real and good. Like I do believe in the chakras, the chakra energy and goes up and down the spine, and how it's really like you twirl it up and accelerate that frequency. And if you do it right, you can come right out of your body and travel through space and time. Just and come right back. But it all takes the energies within those energy. I guess you would call them sympathetic lymph nodes, where they're all together. It's not just lymph, is it? So anyway, let me hear what Dan Burisch was going to say. There's another interview. This one.
Say is that he was there at Site 4, right?
Now, you interacted with J-Rod. Was there a general procedure for this interaction?
Well, there was not a general procedure. There was a very specific procedure.
Very specific, okay.
after we would be brought in with our helper biologists, there was controlling helper biologists, those in the gallery, and then the introduction specialist, which was myself on a number of occasions. We entered the clean sphere through a large series of protocols involving pressurization and compartmentalization, no pun intended, until finally we were pressurized in fully encapsulated a TEC, a TES, total encapsulated suit for entrance into the clean sphere. Once we were pressurized and entered into the clean sphere, well, I should digress. We had a medical evaluation, all of that first. But
Wow.
They ceased doing that after a couple of medical evaluations. It was more just interested, let's get you in and get the work done. I would enter into the clean sphere, and I was not supposed to communicate with the J-Rod at all. I was not supposed to know his name. The reality is we were communicating from the time that I entered into the ambassadorial suite external to the clean sphere, talking back and forth freely. I could hear whatever he was projecting at me from thought, and he could very clearly hear what I was thinking. I say hear, meaning perceive. I was supposed to stand over by a hologram projection system, which was run as like a teleprompter system, over to my right, that would be run inside of the clean sphere glass. Hold my hand up and mimic certain signs. And it became a joke. It really did. It became a joke. Those folks who were watching from the gallery running the show thought that I was standing there and mimicking the signs, and this was the only communication underway. They perceived on the day that the approach, the close approach that he made, the grabbing incident that he did with me, they perceived that there was a communication that occurred. So I began getting questioned quite extensively whether or not he in fact was communicating with me, because he had promised not to, apparently, with the Sigma unit. I alluded to the fact that there was conversation underway, but I didn't talk about what it was until, of course, I was caught in my research protocol forwarding ideas that were somewhat different than what they expected, where they expected my private research was going to go, and this is much later. And at that time, the deal was brokered to find out about the doctrine for the convergent timeline paradox. I told them a little bit about what he showed me, a little bit, and they told me a little bit about the DCTP through pores on his skin, which was associated with the neuritis, the neuropathy that we were dealing with.
Did this have an odor to it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I couldn't perceive any odors whatsoever. I was inside my. But I would imagine, but I have no data set to say what it would have smelled like. And in fact, there was nothing I read that indicated whether or not there was an odor. Why? I'm wondering. You've asked that before, and that's why I'm wondering.
Well, yeah, I've heard about this, there's secretion coming through the pores of the skin before, and there have been those who've had encounters who say that they can smell an odor.
I've heard about that aliens stink. You ever heard about that when somebody says if you're in trouble, sometimes they say evil. If it's evil, you're going to smell like sulfur. Like they literally just came out of hell. And then if it's, sometimes aliens, I don't know if they just smell like, somebody's burnt poo that was been in the dumpster for 12 years back on the back 40 of the farm, set on fire after a party, putting it at the bottom of the outhouse for 3 months, and then throwing it off a cliff, lighting it on fire. We don't know what they smell like. And if you're wearing a suit like Dan Burisch had on, you would not know what the aliens smelled like or if they had a smell, all right? But there was a place where he was saying they were going to blow it up if he made a mistake.
He was hunched over most of the time, could not support himself fully, given muscular atrophy. And that had to do with the peripheral neuropathy under which he was suffering. 622 or a report from 622 could be from anybody. Yes, everything that he showed me when he
Could you estimate what
Where is it?
supplies aspiration samples from.
he's been in communication with you since that time?
No.
Okay.
No
So he
clue
would
exactly.
communicate
I'm
with
sure
this
of it.
alien while he was taking the
They
samples
were
from its
extra
arm.
rough in removing my plug and my catheter and all of that business after I got out of the TES.
Yeah. One of the things that I want to ask you now,
Catheter
apart
too.
slightly from this subject, we're going to ask this last.
You know, it's interesting that he mentioned a catheter. If he's lying, how would he know or remember that they had a catheter in him when he was in this pressurized room with this alien to do the biopsy? The alien communicated with him and cooperated. And then he came out and he said when the guys suspect, I've already seen this video interview, but he says the guys suspect him, say, hey, are you communicating with that alien? And I don't remember if he admitted it or they just figured it out, and then they were mad at him. So he says they were rough removing the uniform and the special suit from him and the catheter. Can you imagine someone was rough on removing your catheter that's an internal urine catheter that's hooked, that's with a balloon blown up behind your prostate, and they tug on it? That would not be fun.
Last question, then we're going to take a break, okay? And then
I don't know how long that. Every time an individual is approached with the issue of would this destroy your faith, I have heard, it's my experience.
Why don't they expose aliens to everyone on Earth? Just let them know.
maybe
Yeah. It would destroy faith.
hero
Can you imagine? It
in
would
the
destroy the
situation because he
Catholic
loves
Church.
playing the hero.
More in detail about the physical.
Certain genetic.
No, actually, no. I think that's fine.
I'm going to go by the most popular views on this video are up here.
Him, because 4 and 5 is 9. That's levels. The 4-1 level. The 4-2 level contained the looking glass, Alice's glass. In fact, outside of the door for the major facility, there's a white rabbit with a clock. A very large, it's a statue that's probably about that tall, and it's held above the doorway. It's wired above the doorway. The looking glass, I find out, is one of the ERBs. It's an Einstein-Rosenbridge promoter. It uses some form of...
Einstein-Rosenbridge. I forgot what that is.
Jesus Christ, within the last 2 weeks. Asking the right questions there, I guess. It's composed of a spherical, spinning, arced, rectangular solid matrix of nickel, cadmium, and barium. There is a spinning disk underneath it, which is supercooled. Into this is injected into the center of these spinning, and I'm not a physicist, spinning disks. Is injected an argon gas. Into that is injected some type of repulsion matter. It's a gravity repulsion matter. They are obtaining the gravity repulsion matter from the heavy materials that have been obtained from the J-rods, the 115 variety material. And apparently when they bombard it with enough...
Did he say the solids that they got from J? Is it the alien doo-doo that makes 115? Is it the alien excrement?
Electromagnetism.
I don't think he meant to say that.
Repels gravity, and it turns into some sort of exotic matter. They spin it fast enough, it opens, or they can see through it. And that is, from what I understand, the great prize in what's going on in the world right now, are those devices. Why do you think the British are running around Iraq right now looking for the climatological records that are just happen to be disappeared out of the Baghdad Museum?
That was uncanny. I remember that. I was watching for that when the United States first went into Iraq. The first thing they did was go to the Antiquities Museum and start looting all of the records and in different sites around the area as well, not just the museum, statues and records and things like that. Because really, if this is where the real old sun worshipping religions began, that began to enslave the earth with all of the religion, it began in Iraq. But, you know, there's stories about how I'm not going to get into religion and history and ancient anthropology. But anyway, Dan Burisch, I don't know if he's still alive or if he's been debunked.
Our SRB report that I have with me today, the supplemental report for 0302 that I have probably is labeled from Reviewer 622. I haven't, it's going to be a cold reading when we look at it, but it's probably from 622.
I looked up Dan Burisch debunked.
Show him, like, you know, essentially manipulate his mind or his perception of reality into a different one. Like, to me, it sounds exactly the experience people have on DMT, where they're just kind of shown a different realm, shown a different reality. You know, like hearing him talk about it, you know, an alien did telepathy on me and showed me something in virtual reality, like that. I can understand that would be kind of sounds a bit hard to grasp for some people, especially who already struggle with this topic. But if you are to follow something that's a little bit more rooted in reality, which is like,
is Dan Burisch the one that pushed the alien back into the portal and it wanted to go home?
That kind of takes you to another place.
Do you know that story?
That's a bit easier to swallow for people. So it's, and in that place, people, literally every single person says that there are some form of entities there. So like if you circle that the whole way around, kind of sounds like we're talking about the same things, perhaps, in a way, or at least versions of the same things.
J-Rod got sent back home, right? Because he was sent into a portal, and I think it was Dan Burisch that pushed him through. Because the alien begged to go home. It wanted to return it had a family, I think, and it wanted to go back to its people. It missed loved ones, you know. Whistleblower says he's witnessed harm by non-human entities. Harm.
At one point, you had said that there has been harmful activity or aggressive activity. Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity. And I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I would have asked, other than the war that, you know, Phil Schneider, if you've known the story of Phil Schneider, he was a contractor building a base for the military, I believe, and he had some underground floors to put in, and they were digging these pylon straight up and down shafts really deep, and they had a elevator bucket. It was just a bucket on a cable that would go down, and they blew a shaft with dynamite to make it deeper and longer, and then they go down and pulled out whatever rubble they need to out of the way. And when they got down there, he said 2 aliens were standing there, like they were white, and they looked mad, and they were hissing, and like, I don't know if he said hissing, but they moved their hands somehow around their belly, and a blue beam shot out, and it cut off his fingers and sliced him open. His belly was sliced open. He had a wound, and big wound, and that was Phil Schneider. He was later found, after he came out about that, he was found with his life had been ended by someone that choked him with a urinary catheter. I can't imagine a urinary catheter being used to choke someone because those are only, what, like 30 centimeters long? That's not long enough to do something. Sometimes you have to picture what you hear on the news and see if it makes sense to your mind. Being choked with a urinary catheter does not make sense in my mind. Multiple types of creatures. Let's hear about the multiple types of creatures they have now.
Mr. Burleson, I'll recognize you for 5 minutes of questions, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Elizondo, does any branch of the United States government or defense contractors possess technology?
Sir, there's documentation that I believe was submitted for the record that was approved for release by the U.S. Pentagon, by the Department of Defense Office of Pre-Publication Security Review, and it states one of the reasons why my predecessor program, OSAP, was trying to collect material of unknown origin.
Was it successfully collected?
It was not. What happened is that there was an aerospace contract company that requested to divest itself of the material that was collected in the 1950s. Unfortunately, that didn't actually occur.
So let's dive into that. That's the
Divest
Bigelow
themselves.
Airspace, correct? So
yes, sir.
There was a journalist, Christopher Sharp, who said that there was a transfer between Lockheed Martin, Bigelow Airspace, and the CIA allegedly blocked this. Can you describe that?
What I can say is that it was blocked. Why it was blocked, I can only surmise. I was part of some conversations later on with some of those contract personnel where they had told all of us that is accurate. What we required was a memo from the Secretary of the Air Force in order to make that complete, and that never occurred. And so when Secretary Mattis became Secretary of Defense, I decided it would be appropriate for me to try to receive a memo from him as SecDef, as Secretary of Defense, if we could not get a memo from the Secretary of the Air Force to transfer that material.
So if that material exists today, who's in possession?
Sir, I wouldn't be able to have that conversation in an open hearing. We'd probably have to have that.
Okay, my question to you then is, if we were in a secure setting, if we were in a SCIF, would you be able to provide?
What more would
or
they
get
talk about in a
access to
SCIF? You know, they
something,
always
whether
say,
it's a visual.
sir, I can't talk about that here, but we can talk about it later in a SCIF, you know, in a private meeting. Come on. Why? I guess, I don't know, maybe they don't want to expose some program that the American people don't know about yet because it ties into something else that we're doing that the American people don't know about yet. I can understand there has to be some secrecy in a government if you're going to get anything done in a matter of intelligence services, you know. But how far does it go? Everything's so redacted. You know, the Epstein files and everything that came out about that? That's like not even a release really that they've given us because everything's so redacted. There are 3 million documents and not one person has been marched down to the police department to be indicted for a crime. You know, everybody goes about their business. And that's all I'm going to say on that. But anyway, this guy, Burisch, said that he was working on the alien in a room that, like I was saying, if he made any mistake, it was like a vacuum, he said, that would blow these charges at the end of this tube outside. And if they blew that, it would suck him and everything that was in that room out through those tubes. Vaporize and just suck you right out that tube, obliterated and burnt. That doesn't sound that smart. Really, I'm thinking about it as I say it. What if you had an actual alien in a tube? Let's see image of J-Rod. Let's do that. Let's try on old Ducky Duck. The J-Rod. Maybe we'll do a J-Rod alien. Maybe we'll do a grok animation. The J-Rod alien, what was I asking about? Escape. Or no, what was I going to ask? Something he had. The amazing story of J-Rod, the escape of alien Colonel J-Rod from Area 51. Escape of the alien Colonel J-Rod from Area 51. Take a peek at the remarkable testimonies of Michael Schratt, a military aerospace historian. In this scenario, Michael Schratt gives some detail on Dr. Dan Burisch's popular encounter with the gray alien. Colonel identified as J-Rod. So the Greys have colonels. Historic moment of this interaction between a human and alien was allegedly taking place at the S4 facility about 12 miles away from the notorious Area 51. So the big deal about his visits with this alien in this pressurized room that he could have been sucked out in if they pressed a button. All they would have had to have noticed, he said, was any communication going on or anything that looked like the alien was either in control or trying to take control or physically started controlling or harming him in the room. They would just push that button and blow the whole thing up. It includes sketches of the flight simulator and very accurate scheme of various divisions of the facility. We have different opinions. Anybody, have you seen Bibliotheca Pleiades? I'm going to show you a wonderful site. Again, it's very heavy leaning on New Age things. So they're half of the things that are on Bibliotheca Pleiades I don't subscribe to. Let's see, did it just spell it? All I have to do is put in B-I-B. Yeah, right there. Can you see my screen? Bibliotheca Pleiades. It's BIBLIOTECA PLEYADES.net. Biblioteca is a library in Spanish, and Pleiades is the Pleiades in Spanish. PLEYADES. Play, P-L-E-Y. Pleiades. Biblioteca Pleiades, the Pleiadian Library.net. And you go there, and you're going to see these links. It always has this special font that looks three-dimensional with the shadow. They use that same font on all of the topics. If you look at, they go weekly or monthly. Let's look at the weekly news. Now, what this does, it gives everything that's spiritual, conspiratorial. It could be oceanic and atmospheric. It could be from the laws of physics, astronomy, any science or history or geography or anything that changes with current events, catastrophes, hurricanes, tsunamis, disasters. History, it goes into all it'll tell you about everything. And let's see, what is the announcements for April in 2026? Unsettled, what climate science tells us, what climate science tells us, what it doesn't, and why it matters. CO2, industrial pollutants, not CO2, are the real disruptors of ecosystems. Consciousness, it gives you the genre area and then the article name. Why the Western worldview limits human potential. In Cosmos, we have Journey to the Edge of the Universe. See, I would not watch that because I'm a flat earther, actually. And you know the reason why I'm a flat earther? I was a flat earther first when I had a heaven experience while I was talking with the Lord up near God in heaven in the firmament one time. And I looked down through the floor and saw this huge flat world with maybe 75 continents. And I didn't know where it was. I thought that's not Earth. This must, because I flew through really fast hyperspace. You know, it was kind of like I went into the Millennium Falcon speed. You know, and through the waters and the stars above, and it was so fast. Everything, the planets line up for you, and everything is spatial, to where you don't think of things as where they are in the distance from them and triangulating all that. You just line them up. They line up. But anyway, cosmos. I'm just telling you, that's the thing I would not go to watch, because I don't believe in a universe. There's just God up there in this world he created with all these continents, and we're living on it. And all of the creatures are from Earth. Now, the other planets spin above us. Consciousness, some main clues of the Great Awakening. Now, what are they calling the Great Awakening? Let's click on that one. Callie Sunlow is an empath, an intuitive healer with a deep connection to the energies of the universe. As an INFP, she seeks to help others awaken to their true selves, guiding them through transformative spiritual journeys. No. See, that's the guru stuff I don't like. I just don't want to do that. Let's see, a month more. Attacking on Trump initially laid out 5 goals for the Iran war. Here's where they stand. Primetime Trump, Operation Epic Fury. That's Zionism. They have a topic of Zionism. Operation Epic Fury. Let's click on that. Operation Epic Fury was supposed to be the culmination of Benjamin Netanyahu's announcement in the Middle Eastern Organization. The United States joined it without hesitation. After a month of fighting, Iran is not only still resisting, but intends to impose its conditions. Man. What a mess. You think Iran's just going to give up and change because Netanyahu says so? The guns of the United States. Anyway, try this place out. I learned some things from science, some things about anti-gravity, some things about... I use about 40% of the knowledge in here. The rest is New Age, hokey pokey. But it does have topics of Zionism and conspiracies and cosmos and all that, so you can find out things here. And I use it. I always go through it and see if there's anything. You can search, like let's say you wanted to look up, you click on search, and you wanted to look up Saturn. Or no, let's look up the black cube. I was just talking about that earlier today. There's a black cube. Are parts of organized religion satanic? Saturn, why are we worshiping the cult of Bel? An alchemical spatial odyssey, the black cube. I thought I put black cube. And it's talking about Saturn. Isn't that funny? I put Saturn, I go, no, the black cube. Occult symbols found on the Bank of America. Let's look at this. Oh, that was the painting that President Trump went by and saw in the lobby. Somebody said that it looked like him in a painting, and he even stopped by and got out of a limo and walked in and looked at it. All by himself. It was funny. He just darted into the lobby of this bank, and he looked at it all by himself. And then he just walked briskly back out this glass lobby and got back in the car, and they drove off. Yeah, it was near around the elevators in the lobby of the bank building, the bank headquarters of Bank of America. The murals. You know how the Denver airport has murals. Weren't those murals covered up, or one of them was? The one with the dead children and the coffins and things like that. Ugh. So Dan Burisch. Was he real? You know, scientifically, some of the things he says get backed up. But there are people that swear they know him, and he's full of crap because he's really an ex-parole officer. He studied a lot. He says he's got a degree. He did study physics, or what was his degree, and I can't remember. He has some scientific degree, plus he's worked as a parole officer, but he seems to know anatomy and physiology. I've got a degree of anatomy physiology. That's my first degree, my associate, and he knows what he's talking about with those big words he was using. So he's got experience with that, and he's like half and half the way he talks about it. But can you imagine this guy to be on a board with the 12 most trusted people of all, of the biggest secret ever? I don't know. He seems clout, I guess this is the word that comes to me. Does he have enough clout or not? Is he really? If he is who he says he is, then he's sure he's got the clout. But why is he coming out? What's his station in life right now? Somebody said he was working as a parole officer. He's got a side hustle. I don't think he's a full-timer in this field that he was in. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Let's just say it was astronomy. So anyway, we were going to look at tonight the Jake Paul video and then check out who is. Let's do one last look at Wikipedia, and let's look up who Dan Burisch is on Wiki. Dan, his name doesn't go around even when you talk to people who are into conspiracies. Here it is. Did you mean Dan Burisch? The page does not. Is Area 51 Dan Burisch, pseudonym of Dan Crane. Yeah, he goes by two names even. Claimed to have worked on cloning alien viruses at Area 51. Also alongside the alien named J-Rod. The Nevada testing site. Now I'm on the Nevada testing site, and where's Dan Burisch? I clicked on it. Area 51's in Wiki, but I'd have to go back to get to Dan Burisch again. I want to see if the April 2026. These things are in other languages. Dan Burisch. You know, where did he go? Why can't he be found if we're looking for him? Let's see if he comes up on what? DuckDuckGo. Dan Burisch summary, Project Camelot. He was either sick or got beat up or something. He's an American figure in ufology who claims to be a former microbiologist involved in top secret black ops in Area 51, where he allegedly interacted with an extraterrestrial being named J-Rod. Yeah, what do y'all think about Dan Burisch? Let's see what people say. We looked at that. He talks at length about three types, a bunch of in-depth bio terms that are above my head. If any bio geeks know what he's talking about, please explain if it makes sense. I can't find much about him on the net. Can't find much on him. I've kept my ear to the ground for the whole while and only recently came across this. If it's BS, it's elaborate BS. Time travel hypothesis somewhat smooths over the no if it's physical and spiritual. Some other videos he loses much of his veracity going out there with some stories. That being said, there are a lot of compelling things he has presented. Is that strange? I saw him over a decade ago myself, but I just haven't heard him much. He hasn't popped his head up. I didn't know if he was still alive. So That's Dan Burisch. Check out. Look for him. You know, member of Majestic 12, which would be one of the 12 who usually, you know, there's people who are directors in the government departments who are on those boards, and wasn't one of the astronauts on Majestic 12 at one point. I don't think the astronauts have much to do with the real aliens, though, because the astronauts are just in a studio. So, all right then. Thank you for coming out to see the show tonight. It was fun chatting and just doing some of my research. I liked talking about newer topics with aliens every night, and I go and I meander about them. Thanks for coming with me. Chill. Bye.